How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Don't judge a book by its cover is a saying that I'm sure a lot of us have heard before. But I feel it's also such an interesting and surprisingly important saying, especially when we're dealing with things like anime and manga. It's just so easy to dismiss a series just by looking at its artwork, or its premise, or its concept, or hell, even just from that initial gut feeling of like, nah, that anime probably sucks. But then you get people like me who have way too much time on their hands that push themselves to go past that initial thought and think to themselves, well, maybe it has some potential? And you end up watching a show that you initially thought was just going to be a pile of trash, only to end up being so fascinated and impressed by it that you shame your past self for ever having such negative emotions towards it. And while I bring this point up purely because it happened to me a few days ago when I sat down and watched the first couple of episodes of the currently airing, I guess, infamous anime series, Musume Pretty Derby. Now hang on a second, you might be thinking to yourself, Joey, my boy, have you finally lost your mind? Have you just watched too many shows to the point where you finally had a gestalt collapse on what exactly a good anime is supposed to be? No, actually, because after watching the first few episodes and properly analyzing and deconstructing all the components that make up this show, I have come to the solid conclusion that Musume Pretty Derby is a genius anime. Before you go and call me a tasteless casual, let me explain. Musume is an anime that was birthed from the now oversaturated trend of monster girls. Specifically, personified horses. But not personified in the same sense that it was personified in A Centaur's Life or Horse Prince, but more like how a cat girl personifies a cat. It's shaped like a human with human features, but just added the kemono mimi and tail. Well, the story of Musume follows Special Week, a horse girl who dreams to become the #1 racehorse in all of Japan. In order to achieve her dreams, she enters Tokyo Track and Academy, in which she goes head-to-head training and racing alongside Japan's soon-to-be greatest racehorses. And well, that's it, really. A really simple plot full of simple character archetypes, crazy hairstyles, and actually functioning horse ears. Oh my fucking god. Now you might be thinking, well, what's so genius about this? It just seems like another monster girl cliche to add to the never-ending meh pile of seasonal garbage. I mean, yeah, I'll admit right here and right now, on the surface level, this show is dumb as fuck. But I'll give PA Works the credit that they deserve for making some epic character designs of so many horse girls, each of which has a style and look that perfectly matches their respective personality archetypes. And the animation and voice acting is decent at best. Not great, but not so horrible either. But I feel that way too many people are only looking at the surface when judging this anime, and not properly looking and analyzing at the subtle details that they throw into each passing episode. Because so many people just do not realize that this anime is basically an amalgamation of an otaku marketing director's wet dream. Horse racing in Japan is a massive market with a lot of money and fans involved. There are entire newspapers dedicated to horse racing, as well as tons of horse racing simulation games in arcades that players bet real money on like the real thing. According to the Japan Racing Association statistics, yes, I did research on horse racing in Japan. I have too much time on my goddamn hands. In 2017, last year as of the recording of this video, the total turnover for the industry was a whopping, get this, 2.7 trillion yen. My boys, I hope you understand that this is an industry that is literally worth $25 billion a year. That's a lot of goddamn money. Now with that in mind, consider the fact in the show, the top 3 placeholders of a race enter this show called The Winning Concert, in which they perform a show dressed up as school idols, singing and performing idol songs to the crowd. This may seem like a really weird tangent that looks like it's kind of just been screwdrived in for the hell of it. And that may be the case, but it's also managing to tap into the idol market of the otaku community, who, if anyone knows anything about, is another huge market in Japan. Not only do we have massive successes of idol shows like Love Live and Idolmaster and a whole ton of others, but we also gradually started to see a huge boom of the idol culture coming over to the West. Even now, if you go to any arcade or any store in Akihabara, you are guaranteed to see something related to Love Live or Idol Master or anything idol anime related. Uma Musume not only manages to tap into the extremely niche yet massively successful horse racing and idol culture, but has also scored a smartphone app that has been paired with the anime that lets you raise idols and horse race with these cute personified horse girls. And mind you, currently Japan is the biggest and most lucrative smartphone app market in the world. And a good proportion that make up that Japanese market consists of, you guessed it, anime apps and horse racing apps. Do you see how all the dots just come together so perfectly? I'm telling you, my boys, this is a show that all of these hardcore otakus in Japan never thought they needed, but always secretly wanted. And I will be extremely surprised if this doesn't end up becoming the next Kantai collection. It just has all the right ingredients to make it successful and tap into those niche yet massively successful otaku subcultures in Japan. What I also think is genius and genuinely cool is the fact that every single horse in this show is named after a real life racehorse. And each of the horse girls' personalities and looks actually match up really well to their real life counterparts, which I think is a subtle Easter egg yet excellent detail that the creators managed to just sneak in there. One, I guess, dangerous kind of thing I noticed though is that if you do go and look up the names of these real life racehorses, since each of the girls follow the life and kind of the way that each of these real life racehorses started out and how their careers went, it kind of becomes a little bit of a spoiler for any future races that might happen. So if you don't want the amazing plot of this series to get ruined, then I suggest you hold back on those Wikipedia searches. Now, while I do pour my praise and support over this seemingly dumb show, at the same time, I do also think that this show is just not going to work for us international fans. Much like when idol shows like Love Live and Idol Master first started, there was a little bit of a shunning from us Western fans. Probably because a lot of us just weren't accustomed to this side of otaku subculture that was really only specific to Japan. So it goes without saying that yes, Uma Musume Pretty Derby is absolutely not a show aimed at or intended for Western audiences. I'm not gonna go and completely deny the fact that there aren't any horse racing enthusiasts outside of Japan, but I doubt that many of those horse racing enthusiasts outside of Japan are also really enthusiastic on personified horse girls singing and dancing to idol songs. So even if you finish this video and your overall conclusion is that Uma Musume is a dumb hot mess, then well, I don't blame you because it probably is. But looking at it purely from an industry marketing standpoint, and with how it is pertaining to, until now, an untapped, extremely niche yet extremely successful subculture market, I can't help but say that Uma Musume is a dumb yet genius idea. And yo, come on, you gotta admit that at least some of the horse girls in this show are pretty goddamn cute. I'll say right here and right now that I will forever be a supporter of cat girls and that cat girls are my shtick, but yo, if in a couple of years time from now when Uma Musume does potentially get big here in Japan and they start making figurines or different kinds of merch for Uma Musume like they have for all of these idol shows even now, then yo, I think your boy might pick up some of those for himself. And you gotta admit that it's kind of awesome watching all of your waifus race each other to see who's the fastest. Now that is what I call a fucking best girl race right there. But that's about it, guys. Let me know what you guys think about Uma Musume. Do you like the show for what it's worth, or do you just think it's a hot pile of mediocrity? And do you think this anime will ever kick off in popularity, at least in Japan, like all the idol shows and even the Monster Girl shows that made it so big in Japan? Or do you think perhaps that, like Monster Girls and idol anime, that this trend might potentially make its way and start to be more accepted over here in the West? I'm curious about your thoughts and opinions, so I want you guys to let me know all that kind of stuff in the comments below. And yo, I'm not gonna lie that I had no interest in horse racing and gambling and stuff like that, because that's just not my thing, but after looking up some of these like real life horse races from this show, I kind of got got a little bit interested in it, not gonna lie. That's not me saying that I'm gonna go and start fucking horse race betting or whatever, because I'm not gonna do that. That's not my thing. But it's also just really interesting to read up on all of these like historical racehorses and how they did and how they got their start. And who would have thought that looking at personified racehorsing girls would get me to be interested in Japanese horse racing history? Anime is fucking weird like that, fam. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. This like and favorite if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more anime banner, and I'll see you guys in the next video of whatever I make. Keep watching anime. Dane!